Hey, let's go down to San Antonio right now. Pleased, as always, to be joined by one of our good friends and colleagues. He is, of course, Casey Holdahl, joining us from down near the Alamo. Casey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I am doing well, Adam. How are you?
We are doing well up here as well. Any snake attacks that you can report on involving Mike Rice today?
No, I missed the Mike Rice snake interaction. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another couple of those before we leave here in San Antonio, since we are going to be here until Thursday. But and as you guys recall, obviously the old rattlesnake in the locker room trick that San Antonio Spurs pulled a few years back. So Trailblazers do have a bit of a history when it comes to snakes here in San Antonio. So I guess it's good to see Mike Rice continuing that tradition.
That's right.
Yeah, because if that was me, my trip would be over.
Holton just saw it for the first time, and we just took a quick reaction shot of him while we were showing the picture of Rice and the snake, and Holton's jaw was about to the floor.
Yeah, I had a
snake. See, what I like about that photo, too, is that you can see Jeff Curtin in the background there on the bike with his
the guns.
Sleeveless. So, yeah, exactly. He's got the 24-inch pythons out there for showing off the guns at in Texas here, where they're all about weaponry.
What about 75 degrees there for you guys?
Oh, actually, more about 85 degrees.
Whoa!
It's a bit humid, and it's 8:15 here in San Antonio, and it's still, I would say, 75, 80 degrees out right now. So definitely a bit of an early summertime here in Texas.
I guess so. Well, not only the Rice versus Reptile moment today, but CJ took over Snapchat a little earlier, and Mike Barrett with the fisheye lens going after a very tall Coors Light, it appears, some sort of domestic. Or it might be one of those Lone Stars, it looks like.
It might be water.
No. MB don't drink that. No way. He doesn't fool around with that stuff. That's awesome. All right, Case, let's go back. Let's talk some hoops. Let's go back to last night and get your perspective on the loss to OKC. Always good to check on the pulse of a team after a loss, even though it was as lopsided as it was. What did you take away, or what were the players saying after this one was over?
Well, I think they were disappointed. Obviously they're always disappointed when they lose, but I think they were a bit disappointed with just how they lost. They came out and played pretty well for, the first 5 or 6 minutes of that game. And then really it was just all Oklahoma City from there on out. And I think that, anytime you're going into Oklahoma City, it's going to be a tough game. And you're not expecting you're probably going to get very many wins there. But I think with where the Blazers are at right now and with some of the struggles they've had on the road recently, and I mean, a lot of that is chalked up to playing good teams. I mean, and that's part of it as well. So, they in this past 5 games, they've gone up on the road against very good teams, which is always going to be difficult to beat those teams on the road. But I think, I kind of got the sense from the players that, they weren't particularly, down or any more upset about that game than another loss. But I think they did feel like they wished they had performed better and at least had kept the game close and maybe given themselves a chance to get into the game in the second half. Where, I mean, I think they were down 19 points going into the intermission. So really, not really a whole lot of opportunity to ever win that game. And I think that's upsetting for players, particularly this time of season. It's not so much the losing, but being in a situation where you never really felt like you had a chance to win that game. And I think, going into this last month of the season and the playoff stretch, and where you very well could meet up with the Thunder, once the postseason starts, I think that more than anything, they wish maybe they had just, had been able to keep that game a little bit closer and see if maybe they get themselves a chance in the fourth quarter, which they just didn't do last night.
Well, it's always how you respond when a little adversity hits, and we know how good Portland has been when they get more than 2 days of rest. Need I remind everyone, the last game was a little bit of an aberration because they played Golden State, and Golden State routed them. But the Blazers on the season, 10 wins, 2 losses, and right now they've got bookshelf losses. It was the first loss of the year. They reeled off 10 wins in a row and then lost to Golden State. But so you're saying there's a chance tomorrow in San Antonio the Blazers can kind of regain what they had, go into San Antonio and do what no other team has done this season, and that's win on the Spurs home floor.
Exactly. And I mean, I think you're pointing out that stat, you kind of look at that and you think something's got to give. And if you're a Trailblazer fan, I think you're hoping that what gives is the Spurs home winning streak. I know a lot of the coaching staff is at the game tonight in San Antonio versus the Clippers, and I think a lot of those guys are maybe trying to find just even a little something that they might be able to use to to help the team get that win tomorrow, or not tomorrow night, 2 nights ago. Excuse me. It's strange to be in a city for more than one night.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of throwing off my my spatial reasoning when it comes to talking about these games. So, but yeah, I mean, I think obviously being the first team to beat San Antonio would be enormous for this team. It'd be a huge boost in confidence. And, I mean, obviously it would help in the standings as well. That, you know, it's getting rather tight between the Blazers and the Rockets and the Mavericks. And, you know, if you still have designs on maybe even trying to catch the Grizzlies, you know, if you're able to get that game against San Antonio, that obviously goes a long way to one, kind of getting you closer to a more preferable seeding, and two, just really giving the team some confidence going into the flat stretch run. I know they have some tough games. You know, they're going to, after this road trip, they're almost at home exclusively, but definitely still difficult games and games they need to win, particularly if they want to have any kind of momentum going into the playoffs. So a big one for the Blazers in a couple nights from now, and a game where, you know, if you're Portland and you end up losing that game, I think, you know, you don't feel too awful bad about it, obviously, because no team has beaten the Spurs yet. But if you're somehow able to get that game, I think it really does serve as a jump-off point for the stretch run. And, you know, maybe it sparks something that, you know, the Blazers are maybe able to catch Memphis in that 5 spot, considering that Memphis has got a lot of injuries right now. And while also trying to hold off, you know, the Rockets and what other team is behind the Mavericks, I guess, now, for that 7 and 8 spot.
Casey, let me kind of test your spatial reasoning a little bit. In terms of, there's not a lot of similarities between OKC and San Antonio, but there is one that I want to point out that I have my eye on going into this game against the Spurs, and that is dribble penetration. The Trailblazers focused a lot this season on guarding the ball better, and particularly guarding the ball better in pick-and-roll situations. OKC is just a runaway freight train in terms of Russell Westbrook and just attacking kind of almost wildly on dribble penetration. But OKC got the ball into the paint frequently last night, and San Antonio plays a similar style in terms of draw and kick, draw and kick, draw and kick. Are you concerned going into the San Antonio game about the Trailblazers defense being broken down by dribble penetration?
I think you have to be, particularly with the way that they performed defensively on the road over these past 5 or 6 games. And again, you know, they are playing very good teams. So in one respect, you don't want to say that they're playing worse defense than they were before, because obviously it's more difficult to defend good teams. But I think you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, they were able to get into the lane on a consistent basis. And while the Spurs don't have anyone like Russell Westbrook, I mean, it's a guy like Tony Parker, and to a lesser extent, a guy like Patty Mills, and even our old friend Andre Miller. I mean, guys that can get into the lane and then make decisions in the post. And a guy like Lamar Buffett, too, who, as we've seen over the past, you know, 8 years, or the previous 8 years when he was in Portland, you know, throughout his career, he's become a much better passer out of the post. So if you try to throw a double at LaMarcus, he's going to swing that ball. And the Spurs are so disciplined. And I think we saw this a couple of years ago in that second-round playoff series that, you know, you don't even need to make a mistake against the Spurs defensively, and they can still pick you apart with their passing and their unselfishness with the ball. So, you know, for a Blazer team, particularly for a young Blazer team, I mean, you have to know that in some respects you're not going to be able to stop them, but you have to be dialed in on your rotation as best as you possibly can. You even give yourself a chance to kind of force a miss for that first team, because they operate so efficiently and know and have played with each other for so long that they just know where that ball is supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And it makes it, I mean, it makes it really difficult for any team, as we've seen throughout the season, to stop that. So, I mean, for the Blazers coming off the game against Oklahoma City, I mean, I don't think they're going to have as much of an issue with that penetration as it had against OKC, but I think you're right, Michael. I mean, it's still going to be an issue against San Antonio, and I think San Antonio is much better at making you pay for it by swinging the ball around the perimeter than a team like Oklahoma City is. So that in and of itself produces its own problem.
It's at the point of attack, and the dribble penetration allows for points in the paint. They've been coming in bunches the last few games. In fact, the Blazers have now lost 5 of their last 7 games overall. And Casey, I guess my biggest question to you is, during those 5 losses, the Blazers are giving up an average of 122 points. So this is a time of the year where you want to be playing some of your best ball, and the Blazers defensively, I know that this is a point that head coach Terry Stotts is going to try to hammer down, is you can't allow 122 points and expect to win.
Yeah, I mean, if the Blazers can score, I mean, I think it was the game against the Warriors where I think Portland scored 61 points in the first half, and I asked Terry, well, you know, what was an issue of scoring. He's like, no, I mean, when you score 61 points and a half, you should feel good about your chances of winning that game.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they ended up losing that game to the Warriors by, I think, 18, and we're down by as many as 30. So, I mean, it's again, I'm reluctant to say they're playing significantly worse defense now than they were, say, 2 weeks ago, because I think a lot of it has to do with the teams they're playing. But, I mean, you're right. Anytime that you're allowing, you know, well over 100 points to a team, you know, you're not putting yourself in a very good chance to get that win. And, I mean, what the Blazers, you know, have shown throughout the years and this season as well, that they can be a high-powered offense. You know, they don't have the kind of, I mean, their defense is just not to the point where they can beat a team allowing, you know, 120 points a game. So, right. You know, I think that, you know, the Spurs are a little more methodical in their scoring, so I think you can keep them a bit lower scoring. But, I mean, they're just as efficient as any team in the league when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. So it's really going to be a tough test for them.
Yeah, and Dame and CJ can only take you so far. At some
only
point,
so far,
yeah, you're going to need some help in other areas as far as scoring and certainly from the defensive end. All right, Casey, we're going to cut you loose right now. Enjoy everything that San Antonio has to offer, and please, please, please just relay the message to everyone on the team. Get us a win on Thursday. That would be so epic.
I will take that message to practice tomorrow, Adam, and I will give my win one for the Gipper speech but for Adam Bjaranson. So,
I do appreciate it.
I'll see what I can do.
All right, Case, do appreciate it. And Blazer fans, certainly go read his stuff on forwardcenter.net and follow him on Twitter. Always, always very active. All times of the day is Casey Holdahl. You can find him on Twitter @CHold.